vendor to do what they want and make them. That's going to be your trick if you're thinking of bidding. How do you respond that quickly? Hello.
I mean, it really. I mean, I talked to Pat about it. He asked me if I was gonna go for it. I was like, well, I might. But I don't like when somebody bashes another company that did it before. I don't like how we talk about him because probably there was miscommunication and I don't have like. I was like over communicating. The way he talked to me about Nathan, I was just like.
He'll talk about you that way.
Yeah, and I don't want to be in that spot. Wow. Then 5K once is not worth me going through that mental dilemma of being,
I think that's a very real concern to think about. And Nate was sort of, I don't want to call it set up. He was doomed to fail because I'd have to look and see, but it was only a few days from them asking him to put in the proposal to his vote. And it was probably just a one-month deal. He didn't get a spec of what to do with that.
No, and I felt that way because you were on that agenda too, and it was tabled, and we never really had.
And I had one day.
Yeah.
So my assumption is.
Hello. How are you? So I'm ready to like drop a bomb down the street.
Stupid song in my head.
Is this normal for this particular?
I thought it was about the water impact.
No, this one's.
Where did
So we
that
have
go?
these a lot. They tend to have them if it's something that somebody thinks is going to be contentious. So like there was one up on I-60 that they went away.
I know, I was like, I'm just doing that, but please don't grab a seltzer, I almost grabbed
Yep,
that.
Starbucks was another one, actually right across the road from this one.
They do this for that reason, so they don't invest too much into it.
Right.
Well, this was so they requested this? Or-
Usually staff
Usually
recommends.
staff does, so that they can get feedback.
So were you at P&Z or did you watch P&Z?
I watched it for 2 minutes and I had to go book.
So that was like 3 hours of people that were not happy that
It was 3 hours.
job. It was like 2 hours before that item was done.
Of what, of this?
The last
Oh,
Of the supermarket.
yeah.
So
Yeah, but somebody got
they
involved in
came
the
up and when they
conversation.
realized there was all the contentious, they got up and said, can we do a workshop? Because now they can sit at a more casual, they've got time.
Okay, and this is in the same location where they said they were gonna do a drive-through.
Across the road.
Oh,
That was Starbucks.
So do you know where the water plant is?
Yeah, that's the one. Right in front of the water tower, this one's for.
That's something I forgot about.
But they're across the road.
Yeah, I think that's right. That is across from Oak Valley Road.
Correct.
Yes, not 27.
Got it.
And the map is right over there.
I'm not off
If you're coming out,
here, so like everything that happens
Always up here.
do you ever go in Oak Valley?
I used to when my grandmother lived there.
So if you're coming out of Oak Valley on the left, there's a,
Heather Glenn, that was her street.
Her name was Heather.
That's a pretty name.
It is.
as you're coming out on the left is the light.
Okay, yes.
Then right after that is the grass, and then there's like a jersey or a guardrail up to 27.
Yes?
That's this parcel that they're talking.
Okay, so the other one is
On the right.
on the right side of it. Okay, got it.
Now they have some of the same.
I don't see where people, I mean, I guess they obviously get paid for this, but I didn't see any businesses there. I don't even call it a variance.
I actually
Looks like a
think,
head call.
Okay.
Look at it.
I think you're going to see more of these because, like, my daughter's insurance encourages me to go to these.
Oh, they're way more affordable.
The
Yeah.
policy is it's pushing people towards these dock in the boxes, not the hospital. So I think you're going to start seeing more of these little pop-ins.
I went searching on that, me and Nicole, when looking at the Sullivan Road and all this stuff. And we came across that, a farm, Sullivan Farm.
Uncle Matt's is over there technically too.
Huh?
It's their property.
Yeah.
I don't know what the name of them are, but it is
Depends on
very
the
close.
game. I might need to trash management.
I can't freaking, I can't.
Yeah, but you'll be
Can
fine.
you turn on Netflix and just shut me off? I'm like,
Alrighty, sir.
I'm the kid in the room, like, just give me a game.
I'm great.
It is a game that you can win money on.
Struggling every day.
I don't know why.
You're this side of the room. I hate Ozempic. Oh, it's not going well?
Oh, I hate him.
Really bothers me.
You're,
Now I can feel it going up the back of my spine, right to my head.
really?
I had none of the side effects. I know you told me that.
Well,
My
if
wife
you-
had them though.
My daughter had them too. My daughter ended up in the hospital twice.
Who?
My daughter,
Manjaro
she
is
started with Ozempic.
less side
And
effects.
then Manjaro she did, and actually the Manjaro is one that took her to the hospital, sent her to the hospital and stayed over 3 days.
She diabetic?
She was pre-diabetic and took her on that.
That's why I'm on for diabetic.
You sure you got the right shot? Because I heard there was rabies in Lake County.
Did you get a rabies shot?
Did you get a rabies shot instead?
I've had a
Wouldn't hurt to get that too, just in case.
In Leesburg, in a
My
can.
wife had bad stomach cramps 3 days after the shot because it took us like 3 weeks to figure out. Because it was 3 days later, and so all of a sudden she was like in massive pain at night. We're at the emergency room,
Her
and
too.
at second week, saying, how is this like Wednesday? What's happening? And the third time it happened, she's like, wait a minute. This is where all 3 days after I got my shot, and so she switched off of it and never went again.
Hers was the second day, and it was like clockwork. She did her own shot. She would take it on a Sunday, she'd get on a Saturday just to test it out. And it was like Sunday, because she heard. Sunday, she wasn't feeling too well. Monday, forget about it. She was vomiting, everything. She was completely now.
I just power through all that stuff, so I'm like, whatever.
Do it anyway.
I want to be 100 pounds.
See, mine's not for the weight. I had to do it because it's diabetic.
Yeah.
So I'm on a lower dose just to
I'm on the
maintain the sugar.
highest of Manjaro.
Yeah,
But I need to go
I'm
on.
on a higher dose. What are you, you're on, what are you getting those up at? Right now, I'm still on 1.
Oh, you're still on
And they're gonna
one?
put you above 1? Yeah. And that was my maintenance. So you're getting a lot, so that I think a lot of that.
Yeah.
My cholesterol shipped up out at 100 when I was 40 years old. So well, hopefully it gets better. I get 1 shot in this leg. This is.
I don't want to know, so I've already
This is
just died.
Ozempic.
That's like my mother's.
Yeah, I'm like, if I have cancer, I don't want to know. I just want to live every day.
She's like, I'm not gonna get a.
The only one that's bothered me is for my allergies, they put me on something called like prescription allergy medicine, so it's like a stronger version of Claritin. And it gives me insomnia. I'll go to sleep for 20 minutes, and my eyes go, boing.
Oh, what kind of drug is that?
It's a cold allergy medicine. It's a prescription, Monta something. It's a new prescription like Claritin.
Is it like a nighttime? Because
It's
I'll take
I take a NyQuil.
NyQuil.
Even when
will
I'm not sick.
Yes, because that's what Unisom is.
Yeah, it soothes me, it like puts me to sleep,
And you
it makes
don't
me forget
have-
about all of the worries.
I try to take it in the morning.
Oh,
Because
okay,
it's-
great.
I go to sleep, and it's 20 minutes later. Like I fall asleep, and then I go,
Double T.
Yeah, no.
and now I'm staring at the room.
It's amazing. And then you just mix Dayquil and NyQuil and then all of the pills and you shot, and then,
Nice.
and then you go to a counseling
Yeah,
meeting.
we don't do that.
I got nothing.
You ready?
I started taking like ginkgo and turkey tail and lion's
Is Eric here tonight?
all of those weird.
Eric's in Finland.
Yep, Eric and Debbie are here.
Christina moving out.
Debbie's not here.
I'm promoted.
We're late, man.
Yeah, you guys
Call to
are
order Minneola City Council workshop meeting. If we'll all rise for a moment of silence and hymn police in the pledge, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America
I don't believe it.
Or weight loss shot.
Last time I heard of the joke.
Okay, public comment.
You want me to run around so they?
That's fine.
Yeah,
It's fine.
that's fine. Thank you.
You guys want to sit?
Come on over. There's 2 seats here for you too.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Nice to see you.
This one won't be as long.
I'm hoping so. I don't get paid by the hour, so. That was his big joke when we were here last week. Like, I hope you guys can bill by the hour. No, I can't, so.
Like that?
But we are gonna have to move it.
We're it. You can't bump us.
Yeah, right.
There's no bumping today.
Okay.
Nice try.
Yeah.
Don't do that again.
Yes.
Agenda review, I think we're good. Public comment, anybody got any comments that's not on the agenda? I think we're good. Can I get a motion to excuse Ms. Flynn and Mr. Hernandez, please?
I'll make a motion to excuse Mr. Hernandez and Ms. Flynn.
I'll second it.
First and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, tonight is just discussion item about the conceptual plan of a medical office building on the corner of Oak Valley Boulevard and North Highway 27. This would be in front of our water treatment plant. There's no votes or actions we take tonight. I guess you were asking for the workshop, because we usually ask for workshops. We didn't ask for one this time. It kind of just came in front of us, and we do appreciate that, because sometimes you never know how this is going to turn. But how do you want to work this? It's your all show. You have our undivided attention.
I'll jump in. Elliot Jameson. So Mark and I had a good meeting, and Mark said this is a good idea to sit down, talk about it. We're here to bring excellent quality medical care with Advent, Dr. Brady Central Care. And we just wanted to come, start the conversation, show you what our intentions are, and make sure everyone's working in the same direction. Selby is our civil engineer to talk about the project itself. And we just want to start and join Minneola. The hospital is under construction now, and this is the next phase of Advent's medical coming to Minneola.
Yeah,
Sure,
absolutely. So Scott Brady, I'm Senior Vice President for Ambulatory at Advent Health, meaning I run businesses that are not the hospital, and that includes these two. The urgent care and the primary care piece, and so as we build hospitals, and provide emergency medicine in those hospitals and surgery, it's important to also provide primary care to the community for their health and their wholeness. And so these are two business units that we have to do that. One is for urgent care, which is you don't have to have that physician. You can come in anytime, any day, and get whatever you need. It includes x-rays and stitches and casting and all that kind of stuff. Some people use it as their primary care, but we call it urgent care. Next to it, the one that's more green is called Primary Care Plus. And that's our primary care product. It will have board-certified physicians, nurse practitioners in primary care. They'll have a relationship with the patient and follow them over time. We hope these products are not the only products that end up in the town. We want to serve Minneola as best as whatever is needed here.
Is primary care like an alternative to having a primary care doctor?
It's the same thing.
Same thing?
So Primary Care Plus would be your primary care doctor. We call it Plus here because it's open extended hours, because some people are working during the days and can't make it by 5 o'clock, and we keep this one open till about 8 o'clock. We might keep it open on a Saturday or a Sunday to just provide for the community. That's where kind of the Plus came in. And that's why these go well together, because both of them are kind of 7-day-a-week, extended hour options for the community.
Is that a fairly new concept?
It is. It really is. We found that we found a couple things. We found that moms and dads with kids and families have a hard time making it to the primary care doctor. We found that we needed more primary care doctors because it was too long of a wait to get in. these are built for same-day service. So if you're a patient here, a new patient, you will get in the same day, 100% of the time, in either the urgent care or the primary care. So this is more of our consumer-focused primary care product.
So typically, would you be assigned a primary care doctor and
Yep.
make an appointment like you would with
Absolutely.
the doctors we've had for years?
Absolutely. So they'll be in that box for primary care doctors. I'm talking about the green part. The blue part's the center care. That's the urgent care.
If you want to move those over here, that'll probably.
Oh, that's a good idea. The bigger portion of the building is the center care. That's the urgent care. And that urgent care doctor is not one that you would call your primary care doctor.
So you have a doctor's office and a doc in the box, I used to call them attached, basically.
Bingo.
Okay.
They're attached, because they kind of do two different things.
All right.
So if you've got a broken toe or a laceration, or you just need some antibiotics because you've got the flu or something, the urgent care is great. It might be late at night, that's good. If you have a need for a chronic medical, if you have a diabetes or a high blood pressure, or you just want a family doctor, then that primary care plus is perfect. And all we've done is taken a traditional primary care box and just extend its hours and its access and same-day service.
Yeah, and it's incredibly popular.
And that's the gray box.
That's the green portion of it.
The gray, yeah.
I'm sorry, great, there you go.
Yeah, I see the Centra Care. That I see a lot of. I don't see a lot of the Prime Plus, primary care.
We only have 10 right now. It's a fairly new concept. We've been out for about 3 years. We just been tweaking the product for 2 or 3 years to make sure we get it where we can serve the community, and it's ready for expansion. So
The closest one to here, Winter Garden.
Ocoee
Claremont.
and Claremont. There's one in
Okay.
Claremont, right?
Okay.
They also serve the city of Minneola. We send employees for post-accident drug testing, pre-employment physicals and pre-employment drug testing. If there's a minor
The Prime
on-the-job
Plus?
injury, we send them to Centra Care.
Yeah, the Center Care does occupational
Yeah, the
medicine.
Centra Care I see a lot of, but the Prime Plus, where is the closest for a Prime Plus?
Claremont.
Claremont
It is
has the
Claremont.
same box.
Oh, okay, so Claremont does have that.
That building right there
It
is
has
on
that.
50.
Right
Ocoee
down
has
the
that
yard.
as well.
Do you know, I've seen it and I've been to it, but I've never paid attention to the Prime Plus, the
Yes.
one next to it. I've
Yes.
always thought that was something other than what we're talking about right now, so.
Since it's new, not a lot of people know
Right.
it yet.
Right, but it's good to know that.
Well, as a patient of Primary Care Plus, what's amazing to me that's not in traditional is that you can get not only same-day appointments, but on the 15-minute hour. So it's so much more flexible, the access is so much better, because I can schedule an appointment at 11:15, 11:30, 11:45, and really hone in on it.
And it doesn't actually happen at 1 o'clock?
No,
You-
no.
Revolutionary.
And I,
Who would have thought? The other thing you can do in these is schedule your visits by your phone virtually or your computer if you
Yes.
want to do that. That's really good, especially for labs and follow-ups, and you don't want to come back in. You just need to get your answer real quick.
So
You
this has
do lab
nothing to
work
do with
there?
whether you build here or not, but you've got me curious. So we tried across the road at Walgreens, and I can't remember what they were called.
Yes,
And it was fantastic, some of the same idea,
yes.
but every time we went in, we were introduced to a new doctor, and I had to explain.
Yes.
They changed, like, it was the weirdest thing. Every time we went in, there was a new doctor in there. So how static is your physicians in this location?
Yes, and I won't forget your question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's
Didn't
okay.
mean to-
Yeah, so the Village Medical was a competitor for a while, and they were going national very, very fast. They didn't give nearly, and they were a national company, they didn't have any local presence. And so a lot of people would come and then they would leave because the providers didn't get what they thought was fair or promised. And so ours is very much different. Our physicians that have worked at Centra Care, I've worked for 32 years with this company, and our physicians like to stay. That doesn't mean some can't move, especially if there's a birth of a child and our doctor wants to take off for that kind of thing. But for the most part, they stay.
Good, awesome. Sorry, Joe, I didn't mean to jump on.
I'm sorry, you asked.
The question is, do you do your lab work at this facility?
So we draw the labs at this facility. We can do a couple simple labs at this facility, like influenza, strep tests, and those kind of things, pregnancy tests, urinalysis. But if you need to have more extensive blood work from your provider, we'll draw it there, and then we'll send it out, and it'll.
Okay, so that would save me a trip to LabCorp, or
You don't need to go to LabCorp.
I don't need it.
That's awesome. We'll do it right.
That'd be good.
Yes, that's part of the plus.
Now, you don't have any beds in here for overnight stay?
Correct, it's not a overnight.
So if I go there and I've got a problem,
Yes,
and you diagnose me with an overnight stay,
yes,
I'm gonna ship over to the main hospital.
yeah.
Do I go by ambulance, or do I have to sign in here and then sign in over there again, all the
Yeah.
paperwork in both places, or is it?
Well, it's a lot more seamless than
Seamless.
if you were disconnected. There probably is paperwork for you to sign when you get in the hospital, even though you've been in an
Yeah.
urgent care or in a primary care setting. Whether you go by an ambulance or a private vehicle just depends on how stable you are.
Of course.
But before you leave this site, we will have you a physician and a bed and a communication so that they'll know you're coming, whether that's going to the emergency room or getting directly admitted. So that's a big advantage. You don't have to explain everything. We'll call the nurses and the ER docs and tell them.
Does Advent do the home visits, like the nurse comes out with the machine and ties it into you, and?
We do. We have home care as part of our nursing visits. But the other thing we also have, which is very cool, is called hospital at home. What that means is if you have, sometimes you visited people or had family that have been in the hospital for a pneumonia and they just needed antibiotics for 5 days, but they felt better. Or they have emphysema and they're starting to feel better. We have something called hospital at home, where after a couple days in the hospital, we can take you the last 3 days at your home. And we set you up with a bed, with a computer that you can access. It looks at you. Doctors that come out to visit you in your house. A lot of people are really liking that. It's no price difference
Well,
to
then you're
the
not
patient.
in the petri dish of the hospital exposed to something else.
Yeah, I have to say, I would rather be at home myself.
Right, right.
So, we have that service.
Anything else, Jeff?
Not that I can think of right now, but.
You did mention x-rays.
Yes, the Centricares all have x-rays, and they're read immediately. So before you leave, we'll all know what it is. We get it overread by a radiologist who does it electronically. And then if you need a cast or a splint or an orthopedic referral, we can also get you into a same-day orthopedic referral if you need it.
And what about for pediatrics?
The Centricares and the PC Pluses see children of all ages. Now, the primary care like to use pediatricians if there's a really sick child, but they will see anybody. Usually they like to see people that are about 2 years of age or up.
Sure.
They will see infants.
Good to know.
So will the urgent care.
So, that said, I thank you for your information about the business model, but unfortunately, planning and zoning, it's y'all's business, y'all run it, but very informative, so thank you. We're here about the building, and where it's going. I can start off the questions about the building. I'm fine with it, and honestly, I live in Park Ridge and Oak Valley, so I come out that every day. A couple questions, and I think it'll be, it's more the civil questions, these are more the design questions, so you can take a break on this one.
I don't know anything about that.
On the design of this, I'm glad to see something there, because watching it, I've been there for 23 years, watching this place, and when I saw them, and I think Mark and I had the discussion when they decided to put up the rails there in front of it.
Guardrail.
The guardrail, thank you for the word. For the guardrails, I was like, what's gonna go for the guardrails? But I think this is a good fit for the guardrails. Will the guardrails be staying with the design flow, the design of this whole project?
You talking about out on 27?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're not proposing we don't have
No, that's
access.
fine. I was just curious, because the way it was structured, I'm like, look, there's a fast food restaurant or something. Nobody really wants a guardrail, but I think what you're bringing to there is something that that works well with the guardrails compared to other businesses that's been proposed, and that was Mark and I've had some
discussions about what type of business goes in front of the guardrails, and we fought the guardrails, but that was a state project, and there was nothing we
Guardrails
could.
won.
Yeah, guardrails won, they are there.
Hey, DOT always wins.
Yeah. The other concern I have is when you come in off of Oak Valley Boulevard, on the right-hand side, you'll actually have a facade, a facing piece. That would be the one. There is neighbors there. If you bring that up and show it. That would be, and we've had this is the same discussion, Nathan, that we had in your neighborhood. I have seen the one at Advent Health on Highway 50, and it's bright at night, which is fine, and I understand that, but mainly when it faces the housing, some type of agreement for the lighting, that it either comes down lit or at night when you close. You're open late, but late to some people is 11, and late to y'all is like 8, which is kind of work. So those lights kind of get dimmed down or something. What did we decide?
Well, but the Centricare is gonna be longer hours, right?
No, the Centricare closes the door at 8.
Okay. So
Yeah,
then
but when we
that's
close the door, people may still be in the lobby that we'll treat. It would be very unusual for us to get all of us out after 9. It'd be
Yeah,
very
I'm
unusual.
just saying, just at 11 o'clock at night, there's a time here. There's understandable, the 9 issues and stuff like that. I'm fine with this. This that I think the storage units were they're running those things all night long, were they not?
And there was a couple of differences. The storage unit, they're up at the top of a, 3 or 4 story, right? So they're shooting over the buildings into the houses, where this is more
One
ground.
story.
So, yeah, that's my bigger concern with the lighting, and I think we discussed with
So
that. But
we're talking back here, right?
So if you
No,
look
no,
at where
it's-
the houses are,
Right, here's the houses. Okay.
there's
No,
the
that-
water
No,
plant there.
that's the water plant. That doesn't count. It'd be the bottom left-hand side.
Bottom left, right in the corner, that's your nearest neighbor.
Yeah.
So you're gonna shoot right in the back of their house.
And they have a 2-story house.
Yes.
Yeah, so the front is fine, all that. It's just take in consideration the lighting on that side of the building, which either down lighting.
Yeah, what Pat was concerned about, sorry, the
Yeah,
mayor was
that's
concerned about, was the signage.
Yes.
And so could we dim the signage at night after, on that side, not on the 27 side?
Right, the
Yeah,
You can do as
27.
bright as you
South
need
side,
to
could
on
we
the
dim-
27th.
dim the
The
signage?
brighter the better,
Right,
probably.
right.
Absolutely.
Sure, we just
Yeah,
put
that-
on a timer.
Mm-hmm.
Just something that there's, I mean, that is just,
Yeah.
and they were asking the sign ordinances piece of this, Joyce, have they met, when looking at this, have they submitted anything, or are they? Okay, so yeah, it was just the signage piece was the main thing, is just out of consideration of the neighbors.
Yeah,
There's a lot of sign.
if you see, the building doesn't really, for aesthetics purposes, there's no true back of the house.
Yeah,
Intentionally, because we want you to feel good all the way around, so you see all sides of the building. So
Yeah.
dimming lights, that, I don't think that's a problem at all.
yeah,
I
that
think
would be,
that's timer issues.
But if you're putting signage on 3 sides, you're gonna have a problem with the lady behind you, because there's only so many square feet, and you only get frontage square feet. So if you're using your frontage square feet on the back,
Mhm.
that's on you.
Correct.
So you
We-
may
we
end
would
up
not.
having some
yeah, that would,
square footage issues.
they'll come through that when,
Yeah, for sure.
when Joyce looks at it, she'll look at your signage, but I just wanted to put the kicker in there, just back to mind.
You have to design the signs differently to have a dimmer option.
Yeah.
So that the sign guys have to know pretty far in advance.
Yeah, so, but that was just what we wanted to bring up. Joe, do you have any questions?
But this is a service that Minneola doesn't have. It's something we've been wanting for a long time. It's something we've needed for a long time. For our
I'm
citizens.
excited about it coming and it complimenting the hospital. I'm fine, I'm all happy with that. It was just the signage piece. Do you have any thoughts, Jeff?
No, it looks pretty good.
Just to kind of put the lighting issue out in the sunlight. The other issues that we had were for internal lights, right? So we have a dark skies ordinance, so you cannot illuminate onto the adjacent properties, and you'll include that illumination plan. But what we're actually having trouble with are folks that leave the internal lights on, and then that actually shines onto the adjacent residential properties, causing problems. And so I just wanted to kind of express that when you're thinking about your lighting plan. I think your site down in Claremont has some glass, and so when the light is on all evening, the glass doesn't.
But
Oh,
I think the one you're talking about is the one that's on Citrus Grove Road and Highway 50. The one that they're building, this one is down by
That one's down
Target.
the road.
It's down, it's
Right,
across the
okay.
street from Target.
But
And it
that's-
doesn't have a glass front end. It's very, it doesn't have that much, but that was.
That
but-
was
but-
really like
But it does have
the
a,
concern, yeah.
lack of better words, it does have definitely a bright light on the roof of
Uh-huh.
it.
The
from
health
20
park is all glass. Right, exactly. And so when we had our storage folk, that was very similar. So we were having this battle with internal lighting. And so I just wanted to kind of express the difference of, we do have this strong, ordinance for dark skies. And so now we're just trying to rein in the internal.
But it comes down to, again, as you're the last person out, you turn off the lights, those lights dim. We're not saying it needs to go dark, because you do want some safety. You want to be able to see if something happens when you're running around in there. But with the lights there, as long as everything is just dimmed down and the lights are dimmed down a little bit, is basically,
This ain't a requirement, and,
we're just asking
maybe
for a
over
nice
the top, but during hurricanes and things, our fire trucks can't go out. Sometimes we ignore the county and do it anyway, depending on the circumstance, but we get stuck.
Luckily, we're not being recorded to say that.
Mark.
Depending on the circumstance, we're gonna take care of our folks, but we're not allowed really to go out with a fire truck, over 35-mile-per-hour winds. But we get calls during hurricanes, for sure, and nothing's open. Is there any thought of how to prepare, maybe have a on-demand generator or something like that, and be prepared for storms, and people can bring themselves here if we can't get out to them for lacerations or whatever that they're having minor issues with?
Yeah, traditionally, these will act just like any medical office building or any office building in your community. When it's 35-mile-an-hour winds or 30-mile-an-hour winds, the police don't let us on the roads, and so my employees can't be there. And so what we do as an alternative is, like when we have the West Coast hurricanes, I'll get about 20 or 30 physicians on the East Coast, and then maybe another 15 or 20 in Kansas. We've got some there in North Carolina, and they'll do all video. And so we'll provide free video visits for your community, usually for about 36 to 48 hours. That way, anybody who needs to get medical attention doesn't have to leave their house. They can actually just get on the video visit. But that's all we've done so far. We haven't tried to convert these into more of an emergency room where there's.
We have the hospital, which will be open during hurricanes.
Yeah.
I hate for them to go to the hospital for something relatively minor, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, during hurricane, we get all kinds of calls for medical issues that are.
Normally with something like that, our team, my GR team and our comms team will help communicate with that, with the cities and counties. So if something like that does happen, we'll make sure that you have all the information so you can.
Having said that, these are the last to close and the first to open. So we try to stay open until it's just not safe for our employees.
No, thank you.
I've got a couple,
Nathan's on our P and Z board, so we're council introduced. This is Jeff Saunders, he's a council member. My name's Pat Kelly, council, and services on council. Nathan Bush is on our planning and zoning, so you'll go to him first, and then you'll come to us.
so I've got
And then
other than what he's already mentioned, I agree with his, but the one that I wanted to mention is, and part of it's not your issue, right? We're dealing with it already, but Oak Valley is becoming a cut-through to the growth over in Groveland. So it's not just the neighborhood there, they're jumping through to get over to Groveland. So that intersection is becoming very challenging and congested already. And we have across the road from you a potential for a couple of drive-through Starbucks-y sort of places, and I think an office building, if I remember right, but a box. So I'm looking at that one in, one out, and obviously you're forced into that because of 27. you know, they're not giving you access, I heard you already say, right?
Yeah, we won't have a driveway on 27.
Yeah, so we have to be there, but what I'm wondering is what are we doing, or have you guys looked at that traffic in and out if they're queued up trying to get onto 27 already, coming out of that neighborhood? Because that's frequently happening during daytime hours where they're queuing into that neighborhood already before we even put the one across the street. So do we need to look at, is that road wide enough right now? Is there, you know, a decel lane? I mean, we're obviously not at speed on that road, but, you know, instead of just an entrance, do we need to have more way to get out of the way? Do we need to worry about that left? I'm just a little concerned that that's already a bit of a problem intersection.
What time do you guys open before you answer that?
8 a.m.
So they're opening right as
Yeah.
my baby, I wake up, I've got sick baby, I'm there just as everyone's already jamming that.
But it's not even just, I'm bringing sick baby there, it's all those that are still leaving to
But if you're coming in, that's
Right.
their in.
Right.
Everyone opposite
what we're
direction.
doing with now.
It's directionally, that side is not the problem.
Generally, it's the other side.
It's the other side is the one that has, the other side is the one that has the problem and has the road alignment issue, is actually the other side.
Well, on the left end, right? So if you're coming from 27 and you have to sit and wait to turn left, then you can back the traffic up. But on this side, we have a free flow off at 27, right?
Yep.
And so for a 7,000 and change medical office building, for starters, like just to be clear, this isn't a 50,000 square foot medical office building. So you're not gonna have that much actual traffic to this.
Do you have a rough idea of what that is? What's your hourly trips?
You know, I really should, because I've only done it like 1,000 times, and, but I don't even wanna, I hate to say a number, because I'm gonna say the wrong number, you know.
Just if you can remember that, you'll see Mr. Bush again. When we go to
Translating
planning and
access
zoning,
to
so
40
just,
patients a day per physician.
Yeah, I mean, peak hour, you're well
Well,
under
I can
50,
tell you that.
you know, and daily it's like, you know, 300 or something like that.
The Centricare will start out slow. It'll ramp up to probably 55 a day would be a very busy clinic, and that's from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., so whatever, 55.
55 patients coming in.
55 patients coming in a 12-hour shift, about 4 an hour, 4.5 an hour, something
Okay.
like that. So the other box would probably be, when it's fully ramped up, which will take a year and a half or so, that might be also another 55, if you have a couple physicians. So you're
So compared to the retail across the street, it's a rounding error.
It's like,
like
yeah,
8 an hour.
it's
like-
Starbucks in an hour.
and what Dr. Brady just said is
They're not
consistent
all
with what I told
one
you, right?
drive.
'Cause, you know, the number of patients you would double, right? Because it's, the trips are trip in, trip out,
Yep.
right? So what I told you is consistent with what Dr. Brady actually knows to be the case. Mine
All
would be
right, so
based on
but
IQ.
generally, I think we need it. I was telling the ladies, my daughter's insurance is go to one of these first. They're incenting them to come to these, not primary care, or they want them,
Really?
they don't want them in the emergency room.
Well, yeah, no, I
Yeah,
know
they want them
emergency
at the
room,
dock in
no.
the box. It's the weirdest, so I think it's a good solution. I actually think this is no nighttime noise for the residents, right? Of the solutions for this parcel, it's a good thing
Oh, for
coming
this
in next
parcel,
to
yes.
that
So in
neighborhood.
this, and I did make sure that, I reached out to Derek, who sits on the corner, who lives in the corner house. He lives in
On the opposite.
this here, he's the one that's been very vocal about everything coming in, and we talked about it. And then he took it and posted it with his Facebook group.
So
in
he's
Oak Valley.
doing okay
So to
with
make, I just, again, I didn't have contact to them, so I made sure that somebody in the organization knew, and he's the one that rallied the troops for any other project that's gone there. And you're in Oak Valley?
Yes,
Okay, so it,
and I would like to address the
Yeah.
traffic issues, but it's terrible. It's terrible already. I actually came here tonight to find out what's going on with the Starbucks. We're getting ready to redo that whole front end. Our community is gonna pay for this, for somebody to tear it back up. That's not even our property. We pay for electric, we pay for landscaping, pay for water. That's all comes out of our community.
I don't even know where that project is, and is that project even come?
At this time, the coffee shop has withdrawn from the project.
Okay, so they would.
And that's on us. You know,
No,
you're in Park Ridge, you got it. I'm in Oak Valley, we're eating the cost from it. maintain it.
They're not-
Maintain the oak, pine trees a day. We pay to trim them down. We
So they're
pay-
not, so right now, the coffee shop, that whole project has stepped away, they're withdrawn.
Traffic's bad. We all know they're building up behind us on Cherry Lake.
Yeah.
And we all agree that they come through there, it's a shortcut. This made it terrible because I moved in here 6 years ago, it was pretty good. And the housing market went up. Now the housing market is going down, and you know, where we live at on Windy Bluff, that house should have sold for every bit of $469,000. Because I just had one exact same house sell for $500,000, two doors from me, 2 years ago. So housing market's going down 70,000 because people seeing the traffic don't want to deal with this. I mean, I was actually gonna buy a house in Oak Valley. I'm glad I didn't. Something fell through. I went up on Canopy Oaks, which is one way in and one way out. And, you know, I'll talk to you a few times. It's not a lot. I mean, you're doing a great job, but we gotta do something about the
I
traffic.
just think that's what this is to me, is this is more, doesn't have the high-intensity traffic input. It's business, it's commercial. I think with the ability to not have the accessibility on 27, that really limits it, so, but your clientele is okay going that extra turnaround, so I think it makes it a safer piece, safer coming out with the turn lane, so I think this is one of the few pieces that actually is the right fit for this. I mean, if it was a Starbucks or not, I'd be like, I'm not too sure about this, but this is kind of the low impact. And then knowing that whatever comes next to it is the one that's gonna have to fix is gonna have to fix the right, straighten the left-hand turn lane. And
If they pull away, that's, yes.
It's really a community need, it's not a want, like a coffee shop or something.
Yep.
This is something Minneola
This is a service.
needs for our citizens, we don't have it. It's important for the healthcare of our community that we have something like this.
Go ahead.
I was gonna say also, if they thought about putting the entrance to their business, which I'm all for a medical center, believe me. My son always went down here on 50, had to take the ambulance to the hospital because not great. But they're thinking about putting an entrance to that building in Oak Valley and have the exit going out back out on 27.
I think we have to fit with DOT, and they're not allowing the curb cuts to actually come into it off that property.
Yeah, and we're in a right turn lane, which is, if you look at the situation out here, the turn lane extends beyond us, the right turn lane. They don't, DOT, if you have an alternative access point, they're not gonna let you connect on their road.
Right.
They have to allow access if you don't have a choice. But if you do have a choice, then you're not getting it. And we're on the other side of a bike lane and a right turn lane, so it's not a good place to.
But also, if you come out of that lane, you're gonna make a left-hand turn and go back out to 27, correct?
Go back out to the signal.
Right.
You're gonna go back out to the signal and
You're gonna
have
jam
no choice.
traffic up bad.
Well, it's very little traffic actually coming out of here, and the beauty is
No, not-
the
not-
stock condition for the left is inside the site, so
Show
you
him
have
what
plenty
he's
of
talking
queuing.
about as far as leaving.
Yeah, right
Talking about coming here and
right
making-
where-
This
where
right
the,
here is where he's talking about. This is where the traffic backs up right now.
Right at the
Excuse my
tower.
back, I'm sorry.
Straight at the terrace.
Right there.
I mean, there it
This
is.
is where we're having our issues right now with
But they're
this
saying-
type of traffic. But I agree that it is not gonna be, I don't feel that it's gonna be such a detriment if they're there, because that traffic, it's not like the traffic that would have been
You'll be
over
adding,
here.
you'll be adding one more car to the queue, at the most two
Right.
per cycle.
I agree, I
mean,
agree.
if you can add that many, so I don't think you're adding that many to the cycle. Now, if you've had something here that was
Yes.
fast food, you're adding a lot to the
Right.
cycle, but I don't think.
Like we had before,
count.
that was an issue with the
I
coffee
think
shop.
I think if you put a right-hand turn lane in for 27, where Starbucks is supposed to be at, that we have the left-hand turn, the right-hand turn, and straight across. Right now, everybody's getting jammed up.
On that
But
one lane
They can't get the
takeaway.
left-hand turn.
And I think that's what we were pushing for the developer to do, and
Right.
they did not want to do it.
That's why they pulled.
And
So
that's why they pulled.
and that's what they pulled. Because we've been pushing them for years, but that's a different project. But we're on them. It just needs to make sure that the next council continues to be on them for that.
I mean, it sounds like a great idea. believe
Yeah,
me.
this is fine for this.
Yes.
If you could find something that complements this on the other side, that'd be great too, but I think it's good.
Yeah, build the second center care right across the
I
street.
was gonna say.
We got
let me think-
ideas.
let me think about
Well,
that.
65, we'll put it right there.
So,
Because
With
two
that
medical
turning lane,
kind of
with
things
the
would
turning
actually
lane,
solve
yes.
that intersection a lot.
24-hour pharmacy, how about that?
Oh, yeah?
Well, and you're right, this is about as light of a retail use that can afford to be.
Yeah, that's right.
Because anyone that can pay this kind of number generally is they're gonna drive traffic.
Yep.
Right,
In a much more significant way.
Yeah,
right.
we've
And the
spent-
development will come, right? So it's like the development's going to come, and so if you lock it down with a professional office, which is the lowest intensity use you could get on a corner like this, then,
Yep.
you know.
And we've spent hours discussing the turning lane, the Starbucks, if they were there, and so, I mean, I'm there, I'm in Park Ridge, so, but I go out that way because of where I have to go. So I'm there, I'm backed up, and yes, we have the people from the back coming in, and you just sit there because there is no turning lane there. I agree,
And
I agree completely,
And
but.
I actually got in the habit, first moved here, that somebody who made their own turn lane. And I didn't do it on delivery, I did it because everybody does it. There's a cop sitting next to me.
Yeah.
I did it. And he,
The sad part about it is, and
he did that turn, he didn't turn it. If you put the concrete out, that would give you some.
Yeah, that's gonna be.
yeah, but then that would be the,
They,
wait,
I assume you have trucks coming in with materials and,
The only regular vehicles we have coming in on a larger than a passenger-sized vehicle is like a box truck. So you've got like UPS, FedEx type of a vehicle on a regular basis.
I don't see a place for them to load or
Well,
unload.
I mean, there's not, because it's a box truck, I mean, they could park in
It's
a
like an
parking
Amazon.
space. Yeah, it's like an Amazon,
Baxter or
type.
Oxygen.
So they can park in a regular space. And then otherwise, you've got the refuse truck, and of course, when we submit to you all, we'll model your fire truck and demonstrate that it can make it through the site, but obviously, they're not coming to visit. You know,
The fire
they're
truck
coming when
isn't-
we don't work,
No,
if
the
they're
fire
coming,
truck's not
we've
coming to
got a
visit.
problem. No.
But there'll be no bigger trucks in there, so you don't need a loading dock or anything
Right,
like that.
exactly,
You're
no,
gonna-
yeah, this is too small to use a small medical office.
They'll come
building
from
like
the
this.
front door.
Yeah, in fact, we don't actually, and
There's a back
we,
door, isn't
it's, we have to build, we build a dumpster enclosure in every single site, but the reality is the waste that comes out of this place is so minimal because the red bag waste has to be picked up by a separate service provider. Back in the day when there was actually paper at a medical office building, they had to shred that and use a separate service provider. And so this is like some employee lunches that, you know, that go in the dumpster in the occasional box. So we build dumpster enclosures. They're the prettiest, cleanest dumpster enclosures you've ever seen.
Good.
So where's the, access, like the front door, or is there access on the back side as
So
well?
the access for the public would be on the front facing 27.
Okay.
And then the rear, there will be doors on the other sides of the building, but those are basically emergency egress for travel distance inside the building.
Okay, and 2 handicap spots are normal for that spot, like that?
Yes, yeah, so up to 50 is 2 handicap, and we're in the 30s, so anything over 25 is 2. Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry, I'm like checking
No,
the
that's okay.
mental encyclopedia.
So I had a question, I know Nate, you can probably help with this. This parcel that's right here on the other side is gonna be something?
The north side, so what's between this and the entrance to Highland Oaks? I don't know of anything coming in there yet.
this area right here.
I don't know, I can call Dan Tetro, maybe.
Is that
There's a sign.
Tetros?
I can call him.
That'd be a good
Well,
reason
the
to
sign
check.
is on the property that's being removed.
The
That
billboard would come down,
comes-
that's
No,
this
no, I mean,
property.
like, I see like a construction
Yeah.
for sale sign. So my point with that is, it doesn't look like they would have a feeder road to access. So maybe at some, like, as a future, site, you could put a road here, and then you guys.
To give them
Yeah.
a pass-through?
Yeah, so, and then you would share that, so, because it looks like they may have to, they would be able to grant access to 27, I don't know. Because it doesn't look like they have access, like a
Well,
feeder
they
road.
would come out of 27 here.
Yeah, so like future forward thinking, not just now. And then my other question would be, how often do you have ambulances come and pick someone up on a daily basis?
Good question.
Yeah, we average one per day would be max. So it's about 0.6 per box per day.
So that's not like enough to ask for a special request from the DOT to get a feeder? Because I feel like ambulances on a residential feeder road, like that may be a good, a special exception request for that.
I mean, honestly, like, to make it short, DOT doesn't care.
Unfortunately, he's right.
Right,
Yeah.
they don't care.
Well,
For an
we've been
FSED or
battling.
a hospital, then it'd be a
Yeah.
conversation,
Yeah.
right? But it's a medical office, and it's really incidental, right? That they have someone come in here that needs an ambulance.
Yeah, if it's only one a day or something, but, and then my last question was, are you going to finish that sidewalk that's missing, that will be in the front, just for, beautification purposes? I don't know if you're supposed to or not, but.
Are you asking, like, to run
Yeah.
a sidewalk along the frontage of the property?
Yeah, because there's a sidewalk, but it ends.
That's where the right-of-way line is at.
Yeah, and the
Yeah.
DOT right away? Yeah. That'll be a
So,
conversation
right
with.
here.
That will be handled when they.
Yeah, that'll be a conversation with DOT for sure.
Okay.
And then
We
there'll be,
typically
If-
ask for that. and
If
we've
you
asked for
can
that
do that,
on other
I'm sorry.
corners.
you just have to be careful when you get to the sidewalks in the DOT, because if you go down 27, I think it would be Bob Evans has got 2 sidewalks, where the city required a sidewalk, and the DOT required a sidewalk, and there's
You got
2
two parallel
sidewalks to nowhere.
Sidewalks to nowhere that end.
And DOT, basically, I know is in the process of widening 27 between 561 and there, but you have plenty, it looks like they already have the right-of-way.
Right.
Already done for that, but then we're going from there, 27, all the way to, can you help us with DOT? No, man. I have a hard
When
time.
you get them on the phone, we have a list.
I have a hard time getting them to cut the grass, so.
Yeah, we're in regular conversations with DOT.
Yeah.
District 5, District 1,
Yeah, they beat their own drum, man. I do have a question. So this building is 7,500 square feet, and part of the reason for that is it allows for a second physician. That would put us 6 parking spaces short per the code. So I figured while we're here, let's talk about that.
And I would almost argue that your ratio of handicap might need to be a touch higher too, given the clientele that's coming. You know, I know the code's there, but
Well, then
you're gonna have more handicap stickers coming in your parking lot than the gym, I would think.
Yeah, and Dr. Brady can probably speak to this, but we've been doing these for, what, 15 years?
20.
20 years, and we've probably done 50 of these over the time, maybe more, I don't know. But we've met code on these. Now, I also do work for clients, including Evan Health, for hospitals and FSEDs and things, and when you get into those, then we do typically provide more than the code requirement for handicap. We haven't done that on these, and we got a pretty solid feedback loop from the hospital. And so if we've been doing anything that they don't like, including landscaping, we'll find out about it, we'll correct it, and we'll move it. So that's never even been a conversation. So if that's an issue, that means none of us here at the table is aware that it's ever been an issue at any of the sites.
It hasn't been an issue.
And
so
maybe
far.
with the lower trips, there's spots available that are reasonably
Well,
close.
that's the thing, is there's not many coming in at a time.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of spaces when you look at with the businesses compared to what your plant cars, and those are.
And we're usually overparked when we park to code, or even when we get to
Overparked,
choose.
meaning there's more spaces than you need.
Way more spaces than we need, which we don't want someone to come in and have to look for a space. And so let's be clear here, this conversation we're having right now, we would not ask to have less than code if we thought that was gonna put us in a bad place. Like, we've never done that. So anyone we've ever put in, we make sure that we have.
So there is an
sufficient
ask.
parking.
The ask is you need a variance for parking. Correct.
Yes.
By how many spots?
I was just gonna ask that.
That's the first I've heard that one. 6 parking spaces to allow this building at this size.
And what percentage of that, how many spots do you have?
We have 39 spaces.
That's it.
Well, no, I'm sorry, we have 33 spaces. Okay, what do you have at the,
So that's a pretty big percentage.
what do you have at the, what do you have on Highway 50? 36 spaces?
You'll be 39.
So
How big is your property on Highway 50? And what is your spaces?
What is the frontage?
What is the square footage of the one on Highway 50? Highway 50, you've got one.
In Claremont.
Yes.
Square footage.
The square footage is just shy of this.
How many parking spaces do you have there?
Where'd you go and count?
Huh?
Don't know off the top of our head, but we overparked that one because there was plan for possibly a future expansion, so we went ahead and put in all the parking.
Yeah,
So
that building's a
that
little bit
was
overparked
bit
because of
different.
the land that exists beside, so you've got a little excess land. And so they went ahead and built the infrastructure with it. So it'll have a little bit more parking.
But you're looking at 16 cars per hour, plus staff, so 30 plus spaces should be plenty, right?
Yes.
Again,
But
my
staff
comment,
takes half of
Keeps
those.
us over 4.4, it's 4.4
not
per
putting any
thousand.
spots in here
Which
if
is-
we're gonna put any spots at all, because
just
once
need
we
the
have a
front.
future
Yeah.
property here.
I think
this
it's
property
She was
that's
saying.
Yeah, I
over
think as long as we can bring just
potential
some data from the
traffic,
other
it gives us
years
the
to kind of
ability
show
to
where we
cross
are.
it.
Yeah,
That's
Cover the
And that was the
sidewalk.
But what I'm saying is that.
We already know
if
the
we're
residents will
going to
drive
ask them
wherever
to
they
put
need
more
to.
spots in,
I'll give it
to eliminate
I
this
just don't
area.
love that there's there
So
aren't
the next
any
parking
parking
spot,
spots.
if need be and
That's what
necessary,
he's saying, but
if the
Sorry.
I said, I don't love that there aren't any
That's what it had
parking
there.
spots like directly in
he said
front
he
of
had
the building,
more,
like you have
no,
to
he doesn't,
cross
because I've been there.
over.
Have to ride around.
Just
Because the
for-
What about-
parking's around the perimeter. of
Yeah,
it.
and then in the back.
But
So
what
it's
about
like
some
people
parking
that come
spots
here, I
over
would
here
think,
in front?
are,
You have.
have a broken leg, they're getting their cast off, or it's older
They
people,
kind of want
or
like a
they're
very-
bleeding out.
I think it's a part of this, it's a.
They wouldn't be here if
I
they
don't
were
think
bleeding out.
so. Well,
They shouldn't, right?
well, no, I mean, like, they have a cut, you know,
Right.
they're like, oh my gosh, I'm, you know, my,
Yeah, you built
I
an
need
advent,
stitches,
you built
my
one of
mom's
these.
One more
panicking,
question down
the
here.
kids are running, you know, from the car and all that stuff, and you're
But
crossing.
before we ask those questions, Pat made a very good comment in regards to the fact and the reason why we don't have parking spaces in front of the front door. And the reason for that is, what is it, gentlemen?
It's just green space, we have to meet green space.
Okay.
So the question I have, 192 in front of Old Town, you have one of
That
these
answered my
square footage parking.
13,150
Excuse me?
square feet.
Why couldn't you have green
It's a big, much bigger building. You in that parking on that off?
Which one?
Celebration?
Or is that where the
Uh,
Amazon pick 'em up
which
to?
It's 13,150.
Yeah.
We had about, I think, 80, give us a little bit.
Is that like
space.
an Amazon delivery
Yeah, it's huge.
transaction?
It's almost
Okay.
double the size of.
walk.
You in one that you did
Easy
not
access
build.
to get to the, that's right, so when you cross the drive, you can get right on a walk, you don't have to walk.
We have
Right.
one conversation on that time was,
Yes, sorry.
you did not design it, but I think you own it. And that would be Advent at 192 out of Four Corners across from Culver's. It's something that was built and then I think Advent purchased it.
The freestanding emergency
Yes.
room? Mm-hmm.
That's a huge one, but it doesn't seem to have that many parking spaces. So
We did purchase that.
Yes, I do. I know y'all didn't design it, but I am curious on that one, because that one doesn't have a lot of spaces, but it seems to have spaces. So I think there's a couple of these where, as you drive around and you look at other projects, what is the impact of that? Because I know that's Four Corners, lots going on there, but I would like to understand that one, but we can.
If we can kind of go down the
Yeah.
line and everybody get their questions answered or whatever.
But I think that, yeah.
I think Nathan made a very good point, though, if you don't mind.
Did
I
you say
know.
that? I'm gonna-
No,
can I
just,
record that?
just say it before I take it
So-
away.
So the question I had when you mentioned the green space, which, if we've got to do a variance, which is the better for the city variance? Do you have them do a variance for green space and get the proper parking? Could, if you didn't have to meet green space, could you meet parking?
I think you're.
Because the green space is bushes and flowers, it's
I
not
think
like
what's
this
gonna
is a
happen-
park we're losing.
Right, but if you do the green space, I'm not opposed to the green space, it's gonna be, building stays fine, you just kind of blow out the setbacks. And so, but when you do that, it's gonna allow for longer trucks, not wider. So basically, when you do that, you can't add variances out here, it's just gonna give more of the middle spaces.
It might be worth talking about,
Unless you do the sides and you do parallel parking on the
He's
side.
talking about the front, that green space in the front,
Here.
and
Yeah.
make that parking.
But there's
You
not
don't
enough,
have space
there's
for
no
it, so-
space,
Okay.
there's no space there.
But it might be worth talking about, and I don't wanna completely derail the conversation here, but it might be worth talking about what the actual and needed parking is, because, just so we're all clear, city code is 1 per 180, which most other jurisdictions don't require that much parking for a medical office building. So that's an unusually high parking requirement for a medical office building. And because, again, we've done 40, 50 of these or whatever, you know, we know what we need, and it's not 1 per 180. And so the request is, again, it would be in line, like if I said, for instance, ITE, the same guys that do the trip gen stuff, trip generation, they also have a parking guide. And just so, like, parking for a medical office building, average parking for a medical office building is 4 per 1,000. 5 per 1,000 is 1 per 200. The city's even higher than that. So, and what we're asking for is 4.8 per 1,000.
So just come with those numbers.
I'm fine
So,
with,
and
I'm
again,
fine
I'm
with the
not trying to
parking.
shut you guys down. I
No,
just wanna make
no,
sure
no,
that,
no.
I just wanna make sure we're talking about, the reason we're asking, we're not asking because we're trying to put, you know, I'm sure you guys have had this. We're not trying to put too much on the site.
Right.
Therefore, we can't. What we're saying is, like, guys, look, we know we don't need that many parking spaces.
But there's discussions that have come up where, and I'm fine with the parking space, I think, but when you talk about, oh, well, when the lot comes next to it, these are these lots, and those discussions have to be made up by those property owners. So that property owner next there, if he needs that, he needs to have the discussion, because once this comes in, the city can't say, well, you can cut through them, because, and let's just say hypothetically, a Starbucks went next to it, then that adds all the additional trip count through there, and then it becomes a safety issue. So they're parking there, their site is in control for what they feel is safe parking, kids coming across. So if you design this well, and then all of a sudden you put something next to it and say, oh, well, you need to cut through theirs, that is when you do the lot splits, and that's up to those. Plus that other lot, there's what it is. I mean, that's what.
Understood.
Yeah.
I get you now. Good point.
And just to answer the question, at the facility on State Road 50, the required parking for there is 36 spaces coincidentally. Now, the building's a little bit smaller, but the program is basically the same.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so
I just think you have a point here where you just need to bring some what if scenarios.
Yeah.
And then as council, we have the responsibility that we probably just need to go around and just look at things, like, and that's what you do when you get there. You go out, you look and get ideas of, well, that's it. It's no armchair quarterbacking here, you gotta get on the field. So,
I don't know if this gentleman had
Yeah.
and I
Any other-
apologize, I didn't get your name, I
I
apologize.
was just wondering how far is it gonna be up to, what's it, Holland? Holland, that other development up at
on this side of the Buggemun's billboard,
On this
billboard,
side.
yeah. It goes parallel with the wastewater treatment plant.
Oh, yeah.
Where the water tank is, it's right there.
And the other thing is, as far as the water, where would that come from? At the, tower, or that?
Whatever water is, yeah, we'll talk about that.
So it just still comes off the tower, that feeds, that feeds Park Ridge too, correctly?
Right, but technically, all our water feeds each other.
all
They're all cross-connected. So we could get water from, Sugarloaf. It just depends on what roads are open in the world of piping.
And this is a very low water user and wastewater generator. So as a for instance, like if this were general office, you know, like my office, if this were general office, then we would generate 2 to 3 times the water demand, which still isn't high. It's still a low user. But this is a very low user, because if you think about it, you don't have all these multiple people using the bathroom on a they're not there
And
all
if
day
they are,
long,
they have to
right?
have a cup, so it doesn't really
That's right, they're sitting in the lounge. Yeah, if you've ever been there and they're like, here, fill this
Now
up, you're
you're
like,
mayor,
oh.
you know? All the details.
So if they were to build another building next to that on the north side, same,
Yeah. There's no cut through.
No.
but they can't come back out on 27 either, so how they get out?
Well, they can't block them from getting to 27. What he was saying is if they have an alternative, it's like an easement through your property if you own rural land. If you have another way across, they'll deny access to have a cut.
Yeah.
If you have no way other than onto 27, they have to give you a cut.
That's why-
My daughter's in West Virginia, she has the same issue now.
Yep,
And actually, I can't deny her driveway because it's there.
Sure.
that's right. Same logic.
So anything else, Nathan?
No, I'm good.
Anything? Good. Ladies, anything? Anything?
I was just to piggyback off that, that was what my suggestion was, just to forward thinking on, you know, leaving access that maybe you could connect up with the future development over there, knowing that they're going to have some sort of access on 27.
And we're thinking, it sounds like maybe some of you all are saying, we don't think we want you to have a cross access to the next property to the north because.
Just because of the nature of the building.
Well,
Right.
I was thinking the same way, but then Pat made a very good point, that what if it is a Starbucks over there, then you're gonna have people
You gotta
Well,
have-
I mean, you don't
cutting
have
through
to,
there.
so just like any, you know, like how you build those roads that look like it's a road, but it leads to nowhere.
Because that's a site plan issue when it comes
Okay,
into,
I'm
into
just
a
saying,
PUD.
you know how you do that?
Mhm.
Just forward thinking that if it does happen and we're not going to limit our, you know, future possible access to 27 because we think it may be a Starbucks. But if we have a design, because it looks like there's a lot of, where's your?
So when you think of this, Jennifer, I want you to sit back, you already have a traffic problem here,
No,
so
no,
why
I'm
would you
just
wanna
saying-
feed more cars here to a
I'm not
traffic
feeding,
light?
no, we're not feeding cars there, we're feeding away cars here. This is the thing I'm talking about here.
Right, but when they want to get on 27 and
To go
go,
north.
to go
Right.
north, they're gonna have to
They're
come to
gonna
their
come through there.
property, you're gonna add more traffic here to make a
Yes.
left-hand turn at the red light, and there's already a queuing issue.
Exactly.
So you don't want any more traffic.
You would solve the southbound.
I would,
Right.
yes,
Right.
You would harm the
but you
northbound.
couldn't solve
And it
for
would-
the traffic on southbound by doing that.
You
Like
could solve
thinking
the
of a-
southbound. You
No,
are
but I mean,
correct
like,
on the
no-
south.
Like, you couldn't prevent them.
But if they, but.
You'd have to do like a one-way maybe.
But on the southbound,
Yes.
Nathan, you're not solving it because they're gonna have to have an access on the 27.
You'd still have to
So
have
they,
that
so
access.
they
You're
don't
gonna
even.
get there
so-
anyway.
Yeah, you're getting there anyway, so.
Right.
that
And you
wouldn't
would
be a
make,
problem.
and that's where I was going with the parking spots, to make sure that if we were gonna add more parking spots, to alleviate it, to not put them over there, eliminate them from being over there.
So-
But, good point, because then we would just keep adding to the issue that
So
we
this
have
is-
here.
this
The
was-
other one that's the interesting thing, and I don't know if you've done it, I have to go to Groveland quite a bit lately. From my house, it tells me to go through Oak Valley.
Oak Valley. Oh, really?
Everyone drives by
Yes, it
GPS
does.
now.
But
and the
Pat has
G-
mentioned that before at a meeting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And I-
so it's,
Oh, because you're going down.
I'm coming
the
citrus.
citrus, yeah.
Instead of turning and going down the way you should, GPS says it's a half a second faster if you,
Yeah.
so I have to ignore my GPS to drive
Yes.
by. So what'll happen is they'll be in that place and put on their GPS,
Mhm.
and it's gonna tell them to go through the
Yeah,
parking
no, that
lot
makes sense.
because it's half a second faster, and then they
This
jam it. We all are driving by computer now that we didn't.
So this is gonna be the challenge as we move
Yeah.
forward, that I was discussing on 27, is all the individual landowners on 27 working, they're not working cohesively like they did in the hills, together and making those connections. Here, it's gonna be this person, and then the next person's like, oh, I'm not gonna give them connection, and they're not gonna have those cross connections on any of the roads going down there,
It's all
because,
pieces.
and you have, you know, where in the hills, we dealt with 4 landowners.
Yes.
So we've already fixed it. They're gonna buy the parcel north of them, and they're gonna buy the parcel south, and we solved all the issues.
You're gonna have Starbucks, if even goes where the citizens wanna go, they're gonna walk across the street to go to
Yeah.
his office.
So-
Neither the landowner nor DOT up here to the north can compel this user to provide a cross access.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, well,
so, unless, right, so neither of them can compel. DOT can say, and they've said to us, we're this guy here. They've said, hey, go talk to your neighbor. You know how many neighbors are going, yes, we'd love to give you a cross access. Where do we sign up? We'll pay our attorney to generate the document, you know? Nobody says that. And so we go, yeah, we reached out to them and they said no. You know,
Well, it's
and
the
we go,
same
okay,
it's
well
the
then there's
sa-
your access.
It's the same concept when you have a neighborhood, you have 2 neighbors,
here, and you got somebody in the middle, and like, well, I wanna build a path across your house, so my kids don't have to walk on the street. It's like, this is my house. It's like, you probably should have bought the lot next to you, so.
Yeah, and if Elliot's your neighbor, Elliot's like, there's always a number.
Before we get in, is there any other ask besides the parking?
That's it.
It's parking was the one.
That's the only thing.
More, any thoughts?
And you didn't have that.
Closing? Any other closing thoughts? Where would this be, what is the next steps? with-
I think the main thing was just to discuss the overall plan. A lot of the specifics that were discussed tonight we'll go through when we get into site planning.
Yeah, sorry about that. We just, for
And then just
myself,
the
my mind just
concept in
goes
general,
to.
just to make sure everyone's okay with that.
So thank you thanks for the education.
No,
I think it's a great part of that you're bringing here. Low impact.
Just from a technical standpoint, is that something that could be staff level approved on the parking or how?
Negative. You're going the full
Nice
board.
try, though. That was a good effort.
You're going P and Z. Welcome to Minneola. Yes, sir, Mayor. Did y'all have the-
Everybody's different. I would rather have more green space than asphalt. Some people would rather have the parking spaces and get the grants on the green space, but it's whatever, everybody's different, so.
Understood.
Like Pat would say, bring
The
snacks.
the trick here is to make the green space so people can park on it.
You could, and all kidding aside, you could
Well,
have, you could have marked overflow parking that's grass.
There are ways to do
That's
that.
what the Minneola executive's doing. They put it
We
in
have it here in
grass
this
and
building.
For right now.
There's no overflow anywhere that.
Yeah, there's not really a place. And it's back to, we don't need it, we don't need it, and so it'll be landscaped per your code, it'll look nice.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Just make sure on your signage that your signage is, that you read our signing, or not the building, but it should be monument signs only. It should be, this be a monument sign.
We weren't gonna move the billboard over
They're
the.
ribbon cutting because she's gonna go put that
If the
back.
billboard moves,
Not the
it
grass.
doesn't go back up.
No, it's, yeah,
No, it's a billboard on your property. It is.
Well, then again,
It has
animal
it, but it's owned by
hospital
somebody else.
too.
Currently,
So it's
we're working on it.
whatever.
If it moves,
That's so.
It
wiggles,
If it moves, it's not going up.
yeah.
it's moving from here to here.
We understand that.
But it's a pretty solid one.
Yeah,
She's done.
So-
absolutely.
She's got.
You want it in your
She had
yard?
one
Don't want it. Anything else? I think, anything in closing? Anything?
Thank you.
Can I get a
Thank
motion
you
for
all.
adjournment?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
You got a second?
I'll second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate your time.
I would like to say this was a very good meeting. I'm kind of hard of hearing. I can't hear you guys today. And, you know, wearing my hearing aids sometimes.
I'm
Don't-
sorry.
don't-
Hey, Alan, why, if that happens, just let us know.
I appreciate what you're saying, but
Really?
It's hard sitting up there, too. People come and talk